students, good morning. So here we are again with the video class for the lesson Mechanics of Solids. So in the last class I told that there is one more derivation in this chapter, that is to derive an expression for elastic potential energy. Okay, you have heard the word potential energy in your 9th standard, I think. So there you have studied gravitational potential energy and you have derived one expression also, that is mgh for potential energy. Here we are discussing for a stretched wire, for a stretched spring. You have studied these as examples for potential energy in your lower classes, where the potential energy is stored there in a stretched rubber band, in a stretched spring, etc. So here we are considering a wire and we are applying a particular amount of force in it so that it will get stretched or it elongates. Okay, so we are applying a force, that means we are applying a stress. You know what is stress, the force acting per unit area. It can be the restoring force acting per unit area, but up to a certain limit, you know, this deforming force as well as the restoring force is same. So I am not going into that details, you know everything. Anyway, the force when we apply in it makes the wire to stretch, isn't it? That means the length is changed. First it has an original length. It has a length, suppose if the length is L. Then when we apply the force or when we apply stress, the length will get increased. It can be compression or elongation. Suppose I am stretching like this, it will get elongated so that the length will also increase, isn't it? So when you apply a force, the length is increased, which means that you are doing a particular amount of work in it, isn't it? This work is stored as potential energy. When you are applying force and if there is a change in the length, always this particular wire or the rubber band or the spring has a tendency to come back to its original position. That means restoring force will develop inside it, isn't it? So again the work has to be done against it. Understand? So here we are explaining the elastic potential energy in terms of work, because potential energy is equal to work. Here the potential energy is actually the work done. The work done in stretching the wire is stored in the form of what? Elastic potential energy. Okay, so our topic is elastic potential energy and we are going to derive an expression for this elastic potential energy in terms of stress, strain and Young's modulus. Okay, so let us move to the topic. Okay, so let us move to the expression for what? Elastic potential energy. So once again I have a wire with me. Now I applied a force to stretch the wire. That means the wire is there. Now I applied a force so that the wire gets stretched. Its length changed. First its length was L. Okay. Then it changed to L plus delta L. That means it stretched. It's stretched. When I apply a force here, it's stretched and the length becomes how much? L plus delta L. So delta L is the change in this particular wire. When I apply a force F. Also we can call it as the stress. Understand? So work is done to stretch the wire. Clear? Now suppose the area of the wire is A. Let it be there. Area of cross section of the wire is taken as A. We want to find what? The work done. Because I told that when you stretch the wire, you are doing a work which is stored as a potential energy. So if you want to find an expression for potential energy, means you need to find the expression for work done, isn't it? So you know the general expression for work, that is work is equal to force into displacement. Force into displacement. So first we want to write the expression for F. You know, initially there was no internal restoring force, isn't it? There was no internal restoring force because we didn't apply any force. Only when you apply force, the internal restoring force will come into play. That means internal restoring force will start to increase from 0 to F. What is that F? How much force we applied to stretch. That should be equal to the restoring force so that it will come back, isn't it? So here, first the internal restoring force was taken as 0 and then it increased to what? F. So, also this force is not a constant force. We are applying a variable force, isn't it? So, you have to find the average force there. So, average force can be calculated as 0 plus F by 2. Understand? Initial, then final by 2. So, your average force will be F by 2. Average force will be F by 2. Clear? Now, you will apply here. So, work done is equal to F by 2 into, what is the displacement happened? Delta L. F by 2 into delta L. This is clear? So, once again, you are finding an expression for elastic potential energy. Work done is stored in the form of potential energy. So, you need to find an expression for work done. General expression is work is equal to force into displacement that you have studied in your lower classes. Here you want to find the force, but the force that we are applying is not a constant force. It is a variable force. So, we have to find the average force. Then only you need to substitute there. For finding the average force, you have studied in the lesson motion in a straight line and all you have studied. How to find the average velocity? Initial velocity plus final velocity by 2. Similarly, the internal restoring force at the starting was 0. So, internal restoring force initially and the final internal restoring force, take the sum, divide by 2. You will get the average force. So, F by 2 is the average value of internal restoring force. Now, you are substituting here. So, F by 2 into delta L. Understand? So, we wrote the expression for work done, that is W is equal to F by 2 into delta L, isn't it? And this work done is actually the elastic potential energy, and elastic potential energy is represented by the letter U, capital U. Okay, so I just arranged this one. U is equal to half into F into delta L. Clear? Half into F into delta L. Now, half into, what is F? F is the stretching force and delta L is the increase in length. Okay, half into stretching force into increase in length. Now, a small arrangement, listen carefully. I am multiplying and dividing the equation with two terms. Okay, that is U is equal to half into F into delta L, clear, by A L into A L. Okay, listen carefully. What is this A? A is actually the area of this wire. L is the length, you know. Delta L is the change in length. So, again, one more arrangement in this equation, that is half into F by A into delta L by L into AL. Clear? Listen, half into, what is F by A? F by A is the force acting per unit area, which is stress. So, I can write it as stress into change in length to the original length, that is the strain. So, strain into, what is area into length? Area into that particular length will give you the volume. Okay, so I can write volume. Clear? That is U, the elastic potential energy is equal to half into stress into strain into the volume of the wire. Clear, no? Clear. I am taking V here, that is U by V. U by V. That is the potential energy per unit volume. Potential energy per unit volume or energy per unit volume. We call it as energy density. Energy density, which is equal to half into stress into strain. Very important. Half into stress into strain. Clear? Simply we took this V here. So U by V will give you the energy per unit volume, or we call it as the energy density, which is equal to half into stress into strain. Okay. Now, I am again arranging this equation in terms of Young's modulus. You have studied Young's modulus. That is, Young's modulus Y is equal to what? Stress by strain. Isn't it? Stress by strain. So what is stress in terms of Young's modulus and strain? You can say it as Young's modulus into strain. Young's modulus into strain. So substituting instead of stress this value, I will get half into Young's modulus into strain, or half into Y into strain square. Half into Y into strain square. Clear? So that's all about the expression for elastic potential energy. That is elastic potential energy in terms of stress and strain, also in terms of Young's modulus. Both can be asked. Okay. Derive an expression for elastic potential energy in terms of stress, strain and Young's modulus. What are the expressions? In terms of stress and strain, it is half into stress into strain. And in terms of Young's modulus and strain, it is half into Young's modulus into strain square. Clear? Okay. Next is Poisson's ratio. It's very important. Poisson's ratio. So here I am taking a wire and placing like this. Okay. It is having a length L and a diameter D. So D is the diameter of the wire and L is the length of the wire. Clear? Now I apply a force in this direction. That means I load it. I load it by applying some weights here. So this length will increase. You know that. A strain will happen in this way, isn't it? That is, the length will increase. So the increase in length will be, let it be delta L. So first, original length is L and the changed length is L plus delta L. Okay. Now when the length is increased, we call that strain as longitudinal strain. Longitudinal strain. Okay. Then when the length is increased, the diameter decreases. That means, suppose initially the diameter was this much was there. Suppose that. Then when the length is increased, the diameter decreased. The diameter decreased. That is, first it was D and there was a change. There is a decrease. So I can represent it as D minus delta D. Okay. D minus delta D, where delta D is the change in diameter. Delta D is the change in diameter. Understand? So this type of strain is known as lateral strain. This type of strain is known as lateral strain. That means diameter wise it is known as the lateral strain, and the strain happened in the direction of applied force is known as the longitudinal strain. Now what is Poisson's ratio? Poisson's ratio is the ratio of lateral strain to longitudinal strain. Lateral strain to longitudinal strain. Okay, what is lateral strain? It is diameter wise change. And longitudinal means the strain happened in the direction of the applied force. Okay, now Poisson's ratio is represented by sigma. Sigma is equal to lateral strain divided by longitudinal strain. Clear? So that's all about Poisson's ratio. Poisson's ratio is the ratio of lateral strain to longitudinal strain. That means when a wire is loaded, the direction to the applied force there will be a strain, that we call it as the longitudinal strain. And when the length is increased, the diameter get decreased, that we call it as the lateral strain. And when we take the ratio of lateral strain to longitudinal strain, we will get the Poisson's ratio. Clear? Okay. Now we are moving to the applications of elasticity. Applications of elasticity. So next is the applications of elasticity. Okay. So the elastic behavior of solids has wide applications, especially in the construction of bridges, okay, using metallic ropes in the purpose of cranes and all. Okay. So there are various applications for elasticity. So the first one I will tell, that is, first we will discuss this one. The thickness of the metallic ropes used in the cranes to lift heavy loads is derived from the knowledge of elastic limit of the material and factor of safety. You know that elastic limit, you know, or the yield point. That means the point up to which it can hold the maximum stress and can regain its position. That is what called elastic limit, isn't it? But after the elastic limit, due to the continuous use, it will turn to its fracture point. Suddenly it will break. So only by checking the elastic limit of the material used, we can make what? The metallic ropes. Because the ropes used in cranes should be in such a way that it should be able to lift heavy loads. Okay, for lifting heavy loads, it should need what? Its safety is a very important factor there. Okay, so the elastic limit of the material is noted and manufactured. That means that up to that elastic limit, it will show the elastic behavior, but after the elastic limit, it will turn to plastic. That means even though we are removing the stress also, it will never come back to its original shape. So it will move to its fracture point. Understand? So that is one of the factor, and that is actually the application of elasticity, in which we are selecting the material only depending upon the elastic limit of that material in order to what? Make the safety. Okay. Now the second point is the beams used in the construction of bridges have large depth and small breadth. What is that? It is very important question. The beams used in the construction of bridges have large depth and small breadth. I will explain that. You all know, because for construction of bridges, beams are required, isn't it? Beams are required. And if the beams are in this way, okay, if the beams are in this way, what will happen is continuous use of the bridge will cause a depression in the bridge, in that beam. Okay, construction of the bridges are in such a way that if this is in such a manner, what will happen? Continuous use will result in a small depression there. In this way it will change. Understand? Again, if there is huge load or traffic in this particular region, means it will break. Understand? That is why long use is not at all safe. It is declared there. Bridges are declared unsafe after continuous use. That is the reason behind this. Okay. Now, in such a case, when there is an equation, that is the equation for this depression. Depression is given by the expression delta, and delta is given by the expression WL cube divided by 4BD cube. WL cube by 4BD cube. What is this W? W means the load. That means the traffic and all, no? Huge vehicles, what heavy loads and all, when it placed on the this particular position, that is what called weight of the load. Okay, then length of the beam, then B is the breadth and D is the depth. So this is the expression. This expression how to derive, you no need to study. Anyway, delta is a depression happened in the beams when continuous loads or heavy loads are in use. So delta is equal to WL by 4BD cube. Understand? Now, what is our aim is? The aim is to what? Decrease the depression. Aim is to decrease the depression. In order to decrease the depression, we have to increase, sorry, one more term is there. Young's modulus is also there. Okay, 4YBD cube. So in order to decrease the depression, that means in order to decrease this depression, if this is the original length, this is the depression happened there, which is given by delta, and we have to decrease the depression. What we have to do? You have to increase the Young's modulus of the material, or you have to increase the breadth of the material, or you have to increase the depth of the material. Understand? So these things, that is the factors in the bottom part, Young's modulus, breadth and depth should be increased so that delta will get reduced. Okay, so in such a case, the shape of this beam or the shape of this particular bar is arranged in such a way that it is given a peculiar shape like the shape of I. Okay, you may have seen in for constructing the bridges and the pillars are given I shape. So that's also the same thing, only asked in another form, that is why the girders are given I shape. Okay, so whenever the length is increased, because length is in the numerator part, whenever the length is increased, the depression will also increase. So we have to reduce the length and increase the breadth and depth in such a way it is arranged. Understand? The breadth and depth are increased so that the depression can be reduced. That is why the I shape is selected. Okay, so these are all based on the studies of what? Elasticity or elastic behavior of the solids. So first is the thickness of the metallic ropes used in cranes to lift the heavy loads. For that we need the knowledge of elasticity. That means the material that we are selecting. What about the elastic limit? Everything we should know. Then second one is the construction. In the construction of bridges, the beams that we are using should have large depth and small breadth. Or we can say that they are given I shape. The beams are given the girders. We call it as girders. G-I-R-D-E-R-S. It should be given I shape. Why? Because the continuous use will result in the depression, and the depression for there is an equation for depression is given by WL cube by 4YBD cube. W means the load that is placed in that beam. Then L is the length, B is the breadth and D is the depth. Y is the Young's modulus. So you have to select a material having large Young's modulus. Okay, that's why steel has large Young's modulus and steel is used normally. Then breadth and depth should be increased so that depression can be reduced. So the shape is selected like this. It is given a peculiar shape of I. Okay, letter I. Okay, so that is why this is also based on the application of elasticity, or the knowledge of elasticity helps us to select such a shaped beam. Understand? Okay, so in this equation you can see that this is B raised to 1 and D raised to 3. Understand? And it is inversely proportional, that is the depression is inversely proportional to B and inversely proportional to the cube of D. Okay, so when you compare this B and D, which one is more preferred? Which one is more preferred to increase? Which one? As it is D. So increasing D more than or rather than B is effective. Okay, that is what seen in this I shape. And what are the advantages of this I shape? First one is it has a large load bearing surface. It has a large load bearing surface. First one. Second one is enough depth is there. I told that depth should be increased. Breadth also can be increased, but when you compare these two, it is preferred D than B. Okay. Since it has a power of 3. So enough depth is there. Enough depth is there. Then it reduces the weight of the beam without sacrificing its strength, and its cost is also very less compared to the other one. Understand? So these are the advantages of using I-shaped girders. First is large load bearing surface, then enough depth, then reduces the weight of beam without sacrificing its strength. Strength is what we are preferring. No? We need strength. And safety is another important factor. Okay, so reduces the weight of beam without sacrificing its strength, and also it reduces its cost. These are the main advantages of using girders like this or beams like this for the construction of bridges. Here you have to study one more term, that is buckling. Okay, buckling. So one more question, you can study that one. Buckling means what? Buckling means, I told that if you are using a deep bar like this, and if there is heavy load or heavy traffic continuously using in this particular bar or beam, what will happen? It starts to bend. So I already told, and that bending is the depression, and the phenomenon of bending is known as what? Buckling. Okay, the phenomenon of bending of a bar or a beam by the continuous traffic or the heavy loads placed on it is known as buckling. Understand? So these are all related to the applications of elasticity, and in this, from this part, so many questions are asked, like giving this statement, and you are asked to state the reason. Okay, so study properly. So that's all about the theory part of this chapter. Now numericals are there that we will do in the next class. So study this lesson properly and have a nice day. Thank you.